I joined the regular Philippine Army and ended up in headquarters company of the 52nd Infantry Regiment. And we went through mopping up operations on the island of Panay. Before that was finished, they pulled me out and sent me to signal school on Leyte, and it happened that I was on a plane just when they announced, it happened to be the 15th of August 1945, just when they announced the surrender of Japan. Anyhow, after my Philippine Army experience and the Philippine Army was being demobilized, my first sergeant decided to join the Philippine Scouts, which was for which members were being recruited at the time. And he was a 14-year veteran of the Philippine Army, and he decided to relinquish his 14 years service to be a private in the Philippine Scouts. I was a PFC. He said, if my first sergeant can do that, I can too. So I became a private in the Philippine Scouts in 1946. Believe it or not, 9 months later, I was a first sergeant. But my first assignment was to the 729th Replacement Company, which took in all recruits at the time, the new scouts, and before they went out to training camp, the training companies. My next assignment was with the 2088th Ordnance Ammunition Company, Provisional Philippine Scouts. It was an ordnance ammunition company, and we were sent down to the sub-base arm Batangas, and we trained for a little while handling ammunition, and then they organized us. They redesignated us as the 76th Ordnance Ammunition Company, and we were sent to Saipan. So instead of being infantry troops in the Philippine Scouts, we ended up as service troops. This happened to a whole bunch of us that joined the new Scouts. We thought we'd be used for occupation duty, but as it turned out, we ended up in service units.
Dan Figueroa, Sergeant First Class, 26 Cavalry.
My name is Dan Figuracion. I don't know how I got my French name. The only way you can remember my name is remember the word refrigeration. Every time you open the refrigerator, you remember me. The proper way to pronounce my name is Figuracion. They call me Figura everything, but Figuracion is the right one. Well, I was born in Fort Stachenburg. Yeah. My dad was in the army too. He was in the cavalry. So when before the Second World War, I was going to school in Manila. But finally, I got all kinds of friends, we're all the students. We talk about joining the army. During the time, the Japanese were engaged in occupying some countries in Asia, like Manchuria, Korea, Taipei, and finally Indochina. So we talk about yourself. We brats, they call us brats because all our dads are compadres too, they know each other. So we go to this recruiting 26 Cavalry Regiment, Philippine Scout. And we entered easy because they're armored brat. The recruiting sergeant is my dad's compadre. But my parents don't know that I'm joining the army, so he's compadre, I know, okay. Then my mother was wondering why you're not coming home, you know. And then she found out that I was recruited by her compadre. They quarreled. It's just friendly quarrel. But first of all, I would like to introduce to you my uniform. I know many of you haven't seen this uniform before. This is a World War II uniform, adopted by the United States Army and Marine Corps after the Spanish-American War. So during that time when the United States occupied the Philippines, because we got, you know what? My grandfather is a soldier in the Philippine Revolutionary Forces during that time, my grandfather. And he fought the Americans. You know, that Zapote Bridge, going to Zapote Bridge in Rizal, it is the one that separated Rizal province and Cavite. There was a battle there. My grandfather was a colonel in the Philippine Revolutionary Forces, and they lost. The Americans won the battle. Of course, we can only, polos? Very few Mausers. But so much for that, I want to tell you this. Philippine Scouts. Today, the media brings us pinpoint bombings like that. Tanks filled with soldiers working on computers, satellite beam images of a state-of-the-art weaponry. In view of this, it's hard to believe that we are still people with us today who have known that they walk, soldiers before walk and rode cars back. In 1941, during the war, the 26th Cavalry Regiment is the only horse cavalry in the United States Army. See? But I'll tell you this you have to remember, we were the first U.S. military to use the M1 rifle. Do you remember the M1 rifle? In Korean? We were the first one to use that in combat. And I think, until now I think that I was the first one to use that M1 rifle shooting on a Japanese enemy. That's, I believe, until now. Because that day, when the Japanese landed at Lincoln, we were there close to Lincoln Go. And we were in the sea, we can see all this ship. I counted 80 ships, you know, Japanese landing forces. And you can hear this battleship, big guns coming towards you like that. They're like train, wham, wham, like that. And there are all kinds of boat landing like that. And we were the first one to deploy our troop back. So my squad were sent north of the Mortis, you know, that's the town in England that Japanese landed. The Mortis, we call it. And we were in patrol like that. We were 7 men. Just hilly places like that, but they got no trees. All they got is bushes like that, and you have to walk. You cannot ride a horse because they can see you far away. So. And you can ride horses in the hilly, you know. You have to lead your horse and walk. Then while we were walking like that, we don't know that the Japanese were there already. So then they started firing. But I was lucky, I was away from the squad. I was in a blank bunker in the left side, about 100 yards to the right. And the Japanese started firing. And I said, there was no reply, see. I know then that they're all killed. So the Japanese started firing on me and I returned my fire, so that's why I consider I was the first one to use the M1 rifle in combat in the United States, during World War II. And then, so I had to leave the place. I got a horse, but I cannot ride it. And one more problem is one of the shoe of my horse is gone, see? So you cannot ride the horse. So I just let the horse go in our assembly area where the town of Rosario is about 5 miles from the beach. That's where our command post was. So I went there. Only the first sergeant I saw. Everything, everybody's going in the clerk, this whole shoe, where you cannot fit it, show of the horse now because they got no horse show. So the first sergeant told me, okay, unsaddle that and bring your what you need, and just wait there in the road for if there's empty horse, loose horses. So that's what I did. I let the horse go. I don't know what happened with that horse. So, and